Okay, I'm going to show you how to identify a fly line without the label on the reel, because oftentimes that label that comes with the fly line either gets wet and washes off, or over a period of time you lose that label. So what we do, and it's done by quite a few people, but unless you haven't seen this before, it's very helpful, because we mark our lines, and the red mark stands for the number 5, and then the black is the number 1. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which implies that this is a 9-weight fly line. Okay? If it was a double taper, the black marks would be above the red line. This is a weight forward, so the black marks are below the red line. Because once that label's gone, you don't know what it is, what weight it is. You can guess at it, but chances are you won't be right. So this is the way to identify your fly line once that label wears off or you don't have a label on it. In my instructions, a lot of times I teach fly casting, and in my instructions, oftentimes people bring their equipment, and I'll look at the reel, and there won't be a sticker on it. I'll say, well, what's the line? Well, now what's happening is these companies are starting to print on the line what the line weight is. And so that's helpful. But if you're in a situation where that isn't the case, where they don't have it identified by that, this is the other way to identify it. The other thing that we do is we'll go down that front taper through the belly, all the way through the belly, which is most of the grain weight is in the belly. Now we're starting to taper back now, and right there. I don't know if you can see by diameter, but I'm going to show you. I'm going to put it up here anyway. There is a difference in the diameter here. Why that's so important to identify by putting your marks back here, because if this running line gets up towards the tip of the rod, it gets almost impossible for most casters to roll that head over. It's too thin. It doesn't have the mass to throw that heavy head over. Be it a 4-weight or be it a 12-weight, it makes no difference. It's all the same. I'm a person I do not use false casts. If I pick up a line that's only 20 feet long, I can pick that up and I can run line on my back cast. Maybe I'd add 15 feet, so now I got a 35-foot cast out there. But if I pick up the whole 30 feet, I can shoot that back and get 20 feet of running line. Now I've got 50 feet of fly line out and not counting my leader length. So false casting is something they did way back when they made fly lines that sunk and they had a flash of water out of it. I'm not saying you never false cast, but rarely do you have to false cast if you know how to use that when you shoot line on your back cast. But this mark on the back identifies the end of the rear taper. And the reason for that is when I can see that coming through the guides, I know I'm getting to the end of my rear taper. I know I'm ready to make that next cast. And I'm talking about casts that are in that 50 to 70 foot range. I'm not talking about trout fishing necessarily. But the point I'm making is this identifies the end of that rear taper, and I know now that I can make a longer cast because I've got enough head length out there, enough weight, if you want to call it that, to make those casts that I'm referring to, 40, 50, 60, 70 feet. So I also put a nail knot on here in conjunction with the red. As I mentioned, I can see that red coming down the rod. The also thing with that nail knot, I can hear it click through the tip top, and it's coming down. When it gets to my hand, I just make my next cast. If I want to make a fairly long cast, I'll just let some line slide on the back cast, pinch her back down, come forward and shoot the line forward. It's amazing how well that works. That false casting, I see it all the time. They come back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then they power into the cast and they kill the cast. That's totally unnecessary. But that's a whole nother video. But that mark there tells me that I got the end of my rear taper. I've got the front marked, and that identifies the weight and if it's a weight forward or a double taper. Those two things are very helpful if you lose a tag on your reel or if you don't have a tag. So, all right.